Hey everyone, it's time for a fresh dose of Huber Syndrome. Hey everyone, thanks for joining us on episode 4 of Huber Syndrome. Today we are talking about something near and dear and close to my heart and my mind and my soul. Ratchet and Clank! Let's get started. So a short while ago I had the task of reviewing Ratchet and Clank, which is something I want to talk about real quickly. Because just like Liquid and Solid Bossman, there are two of me. There is the objective, critical, analyzer, reviewer, nitpicker, find every flaw but enjoy the game at the same time reviewer. And then there's me, hyped up, loving games because it's the most beautiful art on this earth. We are so lucky right now. There are just too many games to even play. And reviewing Ratchet and Clank was very intense for me. That was one of the hardest reviews I've ever written because I am so passionate about this franchise. I'll never forget being in GameStop when I was like 12 years old, not even knowing what Ratchet and Clank was, looking at the PlayStation 2 box, seeing this cartoony guy with a big gun, and thinking, whoa, this game isn't for kids. He's got all these crazy guns. I'm gonna try this out. And I've been in love ever since. So, reviewing this game from a fan's perspective, but it's a reboot, but it's also the 9th main game in the franchise. It was just very intense. So today, that person's gone. We're just hanging out talking about Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet and Clank looks better and plays better than it ever has. Everything's just so smooth. These visuals are unbelievable. I know a lot of them are from the movie, spoiler alert. I was actually kind of bummed out about that. It's like, yo, let me see these cutscenes when I'm in the theater with my Coke and popcorn, please. Thank you. So there's two sides to every coin. This game is a celebration of the franchise. It takes weapons and gadgets from kind of all over this series and puts them in there. And I had mixed feelings about it. For a lot of it, I had this nostalgic feeling. It was great turning enemies into sheeps and leveling up my comm buster, you know, getting that spread shot. It was business as usual. It was incredible. I just wish there were a couple new guns, but the new gun that is there, the Pixelizer, oh, it's going down in history. Long ago, on a low rent, low budget, after hours cable television show by the name of Huber Hype, I did an episode on weapons, and the bouncer from Ratchet and Clank made an appearance. But I think if I were to do that episode today, I would put the Pixelizer in its place because this weapon is just so beautiful. It's basically the equivalent of Ratchet and Clank's shotgun, except it turns enemies into 8-bit pixels that just devolve into cubes, and they make all these old school retro arcade sounds. It's just such a beautiful weapon that I could not get enough of. Anyone in my path, they're getting pixelized. So I want to talk about the story for a second because this is a dangerous and rocky path to navigate. There are some franchises out there like Metal Gear Solid and Resident Evil that have had these continuities going for decades. Ratchet and Clank was not far behind. It was over a decade of this story continually going, with A Crack in Time being my all-time favorite and the often overlooked Into the Nexus even taking place after that. You know, the story was left in such a good place with Into the Nexus. Just such a tricky situation when you decide to reboot, and I don't even want to think about that from a business perspective. From Insomniac's perspective, you know, they come out with a Ratchet and Clank, the 9th in the series, and it's after all this story has been told. Newcomers can't hop in. They're intimidated. They say, well, I don't know what the heck's going on. I don't know who this Lombax is. I don't know who Clank is. The reboot can bring in fresh people to experience this franchise, and I love it for that. But at the same time, there was just this redundant feeling in the back of my mind saying, you've been here before, you've done this before, you've used this weapon before. But it's still a hell of a game.
Time for the syndrome.
So this episode, we're kind of cheating here. The Ratchet & Clank movie. The game is based on the movie, based on the game. The movie's based on the game, based on the movie. Everything's based on everything. Go check it out. It's in theaters. So that's it for the episode. If you want to talk about review process, Ratchet & Clank the movie, Ratchet & Clank the game, tweet at Michael P. Huber or post in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. If you want to help support us further, we are at Easy Allies on Twitch, YouTube, Patreon, and Twitter. We have a ton of shows and we're streaming nearly every day, so check us out. Thanks for watching and see you next week.